Happy Saturday! You're rocking with the Lily Jade Show on 95.9 FM WW Cleveland. I'm your host, DJ Lily Jade, and today we have an absolute powerhouse in the studio. My guest today is living the ultimate dream. He is not just a professional race car driver, but also a full-time college student. He's the 2024 Mazda MX-5 Cup Rookie of the Year, a Mazda Shootout winner, and he just wrapped up an incredible first season with BSI Racing, earning 4 podiums and winning at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and Sebring, his first ever pro career victory. At just 20 years old, he's competing at the highest levels of motorsports, all while keeping up with college classes. Talk about next level multitasking. Please welcome to the Lily Jade Show, Westin Workman. Westin.
What's going on, everybody?
Thanks. Well, welcome to the Lily Jade Show. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Thank you for having me, DJ Lily Jade. That was quite the intro for myself. I can't even remember all my accomplishments. You started rattling them off. I really appreciate that. That was great.
Of course, got to do your research.
I like that.
Well, Westin, most kids at 20 are just figuring out college life. You're out here racing professionally and hitting the books. Most people just choose one, you know? What college do you attend, and how do you balance both worlds?
So I attend UNC Charlotte. Initially, I applied for UNC Charlotte to do motorsports engineering, and I did that for 1 year. And obviously balancing motorsports and school at the same time, and with how rigorous a mechanical engineering degree would be, it was almost nearly impossible to try to do both at the same time. So now I'm doing business marketing, which still applies to motorsports. Right now, with the way the industry is in motorsports and things like that, you really have to be able to sell yourself, market yourself, network with different people. So I still feel like this degree will help me in the motorsports industry. But I still wanted to get that engineering knowledge, but I think I'll get that through just racing and motorsports. But it really is tough to balance, right? I'm taking it slow. The opportunities I have in racing right now, they're not going to come twice, so I kind of have to, have racing be my full priority right now and just take school slow. So I'm only taking 2 classes at the moment. I took 2 classes last semester, so just kind of chomping away at the bit a little bit, but also trying to put my full focus in on motorsports, but still have a little bit of focus in school.
Sort of like how I have to do it when it comes to school and DJing and being a radio host. So there's a little connection right there.
I think you deserve a little bit of credit too. Nobody else your age is a radio host and a DJ and doing all the great things that you're doing. You don't
see many people. But let's rewind a little on how this all started for you. Just where are you from?
So I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. And being from here, I was really fortunate to be from here because people consider this the racing country. A little bit north of Charlotte is a city called Mooresville, and it's nicknamed the Race City. There's a lot of race teams here, NASCAR teams, IndyCar, late models, a lot of oval track. The list goes on. So I've just been, very fortunate to have a lot of motorsports almost in my backyard. So I started in go-karts at a young age. There was an indoor go-karting facility near me called Victory Lane Karting. So I started racing there, doing the youth leagues, doing the summer camps and things like that. And I got my first taste of winning in one of their summer camps. And I was like, I kind of like this. And that's kind of when I realized I was good at racing and go-karting and things like that. And then I started winning races in the youth leagues on Saturdays that they would have. And then from that, my dad bought me my first go-kart. Very fortunate to have supportive parents. I feel like that's a very underrated thing. They've always supported me no matter what I do. Like I said, I've tried a lot of things. I tried basketball. I tried soccer. I tried speed skating. I tried, a lot of different things. And racing and racing and things with 4 wheels really just caught me. I've always been a fan of cars since a very young age. And then I started racing go-karts. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. I still do it. but I started doing local go-karting, then national go-karting. I actually went all the way out to Las Vegas one year to race go-karts.
Big time.
But I did it nationally, so it was all across the country. And then through racing go-karts, I got my first opportunity to drive a race car with Mazda. And like you touched on, the shootouts. I competed in the shootouts 4 different times. I ended up winning 2 of them, and that's a certain amount of money to go racing for the following year. So I've been, just very fortunate for the opportunities that have come my way. For me, it's always been right place, right timing. And then through racing Mazdas, that's when I got the deal with Toyota. So I signed a contract with Toyota at the beginning of last year. So a part of being in the Mazda things and the Mazda ladder, I'm also a Toyota development driver for the past year.
You knew it was your destiny. So,
yeah, exactly.
How old were you when you did your first shootout?
When I did my first shootout, I was 16, and I had just got my driver's license. But I had never been in a race car before. The only things I had driven on a racetrack at that time were go-karts. So when I did the shootout, I had never been in a race car before, never been on a big racetrack. So I was kind of just thrown into the deep end. But that was kind of the dynamic of that shootout, because the goal was to take go-kart drivers to race cars. So a lot of people I was competing against were also in the same boat.
You just said you were fresh out of getting your license. But
yeah.
I'm sure you aced that from all the go-kart riding.
Yeah, I mean, because my mom had always let me drive her cars before I even got my license when I was 15, 14, 13. Like, I had always been driving, so I knew how to drive. It's just I couldn't do it legally.
Nah, you couldn't do it legally. Was there a specific moment when you realized, okay, I can actually make a career out of racing?
Yeah, I think so my first love for racing, I kind of touched on it earlier, was when I won that summer camp. I just fell in love with the feeling of winning. But then when I actually realized that I could make it a career, I think was when I won the MX-5 Cup Shootout. That was the first moment in my career or my pathway that actually brought me to tears. That's when I realized I had really made it to the next level, and this was going to be my future. And like I said, just very fortunate for all the opportunities that these companies are giving with Mazda and Toyota and things like that. They've supported me a lot. And I can't thank them enough for it. And like I said, I mean, that was the first moment that brought me to tears. So I think, that's definitely when I realized
that was when you realized
be a career for
when
me.
It brings you to tears, and you're like, oh, this is made for me.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're just now tuning in, I have professional race car driver Westin Workman. Now, did I see you in a national commercial? I feel like it was a Super Bowl commercial and the NBA All-Star Game.
Yes, you did. So I filmed that in November of last year, and it was to highlight Black excellence in Toyota products. So I was obviously, being a Toyota driver and a Toyota development driver. They invited me to be a part of the commercial. I was super fortunate to be a part of it, and it was a really cool thing. It's obviously supposed to go through all of February for Black History Month, and they've been showing it through some different NBA games, and most notably the All-Star Game last night.
Yep, I was watching
super
it.
Cool.
Plus, every time I'm watching something and a commercial pops up, I just turn that off, and I load up your commercial. I'm like, I don't need to watch that. I don't need to watch that one. I can just watch this one.
No, I'm the same way. I watch the commercials now just to see myself.
How long did it take to film?
Ooh, that's a good question. It was a 3-day thing. So I flew in one day. It was just a travel day, and then we filmed all day the next day. I think we filmed for around 4 or 5 hours. And then I flew out the next day, but we filmed for 4 or 5 hours, but my part in the commercial was in total maybe 10 seconds. So it's crazy. And it kind of makes me realize, like, how long does it take to film a movie? Like, if it took 4 or 5 hours to have this 10-second clip of me in this commercial, like, it must take years to film a movie, and it does. So it was eye opening, but it was a great opportunity for me because I had never been on that side of anything. I've just raced my whole life. I've never had a director and all these cameras in front of me, and having certain things I have to say or do or things like that. So it was just super cool to be a part of it.
With my TV show, we would have to do like one shot where we would say something, but it would take like a 45 minutes to an hour timestamps for us to. It's because me and my co-host will try to both be doing. It's like they want us to say it in sync, or we'll get like multiple shots on how we want to do it, and then pick it out from that. So it takes a minute. It could take a minute for just something very quick. But we'll be right back after this break, because we gotta pay some bills. Welcome back to the Lily Jade Show on 95.9 FM WW Cleveland. And if you're just now joining us, we're talking to professional race car driver Westin Workman. Hi! And you are now in your second season in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, driving the iconic purple and silver number 13 MX-5 for BSI Racing. BSI.
Yes.
So you're not just in the race, you're aiming for the championship. What's your mindset heading into this season?
It's a little bit different than last season. Coming into last season as a rookie, I obviously had my eyes set on the championship, but there was another championship that I could win, which was Rookie of the Year, and I ended up winning that, and I kind of felt like I almost limited myself that year to just Rookie of the Year and not being the overall champion, because no rookie has ever won the overall championship. So this year,
you should be the first one.
I just have my full focus set on winning the championship. Obviously I can't win Rookie of the Year anymore because I'm not a rookie. This is my second year in the series, but just full focus on the championship. I had 2 wins last year, which is very uncommon for a rookie. Usually rookies have no wins throughout their rookie season. So it's very cool to have 2 wins last season. I'm looking for more this season. Our first race this year was at Daytona International Speedway. We had a lot of issues, unfortunately. So we're behind the 8 ball right now for the championship. The car broke in qualifying, which was my fault. We had an issue in race 1, so I didn't finish the race. I finished 2 laps down, and then in race 2, there was a big wreck that collected 17 cars, and I was a part of it, and I finished 2 laps down again. So, a very unfortunate start to the season, but we're looking forward to having a strong rest of the season. Our next race is in St. Pete, Florida, with the IndyCar Series, so it'll be a street course. So we'll be racing through the streets of St. Pete, which is super cool, with all the skyscrapers and things like that. I've never raced on a street course before, so that'll be very cool for myself.
You'll be sightseeing. You'll be sightseeing while driving.
Looking forward to the rest of the season. I think you asked a good question there, and the mindset is just full focus on the championship. I mean, second won't get the same praise that first gets. So just I think from here on out, I really just need to be on the podium and have consistent finishes and have good points in every single race.
Stay positive. Challenges make you better.
Yes, ma'am.
But can you break it down for me and my listeners that are unfamiliar with race car driving? Is racing a team sport or an individual sport?
Racing is very much a team sport. On TV it makes it to seem like it's an individual sport, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, right? So each driver is on a team, right? And each car has a car chief, which is the person that works on the car, prepares the car, and then there's tire guys, there's the team owner, there's the engineer, which makes the setup. So it's a whole family from team to team of what goes on behind the scenes, because if it was just me and I had to transport the car, do the setup on the car, work on the car, change the tires myself, I wouldn't even make it to the track probably. So it's very much a team sport. And then also within teams, there's other drivers that are on the team. And, some teams have team orders where you have to work with the other guys, and some teams just, let their guys do whatever they want. But I wouldn't necessarily say my team, BSI Racing, that we have team orders. It's always just kind of work with each other throughout the race to try to put everybody in the best position, and then on the last lap or 2 laps to go, gloves are off. You can do whatever you want. Like, everybody's trying to win the race, and one thing that I didn't touch on was the prize money throughout the races. So I race in 2 different series. I race in the GR Cup Series and in the MX-5 Cup Series. And in the MX-5 Cup, it's $6,000 to win each race, and there's 2 races per weekend. And then in the GR Cup Series, it's $12,000 to win each race. So there's a total of $24,000 in the GR Cup Series that's up for grabs.
I gotta learn how to race. I gotta learn how to race.
At the end of the year, and we were just talking about championships, right? At the end of the year, in the MX-5 Cup Series, the championship is $250,000.
Hey, can you teach me? Can you teach me how to race? Take me onto the track.
We can make something happen.
Take me onto the track with you.
But yeah, so there's a lot of money up for grabs in these different races. So you have to be on your A game all the time. And going back to what you said with it being it's a team sport, right? On the last lap, like, I'm not thinking about saving my teammates. I'm thinking about that $6,000 or $12,000 or the $250,000 at the end of the season. I'll do the best I can to have everybody be in the best position, but at the end of the day, I'm going to win over my teammates.
Now, do you have to travel to all your competitions?
I do, yeah. So it depends on the distance. So sometimes we'll drive and sometimes we'll fly. I think the maximum that we'll drive is probably if it's a 6 to 7 hour drive, and then outside of that, we'll fly. So, for example, last year and this year, we drove to Daytona, and Daytona's 7 hours. We drove to Barber, which is in Alabama. That was 6 hours, and then Atlanta and Virginia. Virginia's 2.5, and Atlanta's 3 hours. So we drove to all of those, but all the other races we flew to. So, like, I went to Indy, California, more Florida races, Wisconsin, Texas. The list goes on. So most of the races we'll fly to.
Hey, I gotta come to where you are because my grandparents live in Virginia, and I can never survive that 8-hour drive. You just said 2.5 hours? Bet. I'd rather fly there than get a rental car than drive to my grandparents.
You gotta come to a race for sure.
Yeah, but since you're balancing full-time college and racing, does your professor ever cut you some slack when you miss a class for a race weekend, or do you get the no excuses treatment?
It's a little bit of both. I've told all my professors that I race and things like that, and they think it's cool. But it's college. You're like, we don't really care. Get the work done. Like, we can't do the work for you. So I mean, it's a balance, right? I make sure to let my professors know what's going on. Some of them are understanding. Some of them aren't. So it's like same thing with racing and school. It's a balance. The balance is attendance and missing class. So I make sure to let all of them know that I have a race coming up, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I won't be here for this day, or be there for this test. For example, like we had a test. We had a test on Thursday, and I just did it last night. So I made sure I let my professor know that I was in Daytona for the Daytona 500 for a NASCAR event, working with Toyota, and she understood. I sent her my flight information and told her the conflict and things like that. And she was very understanding and let me take the test over the weekend. So it kind of depends on the professor and if they like racing or not.
Listen, I recently went to New Orleans, and they gave me the work to take with me. So I have pictures of me at the airport. I'm sitting on the ground. My phone is charging right next to me. Got my pencil and I got my packets. Because at the same time, we were writing essays. So I'm at the airport, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm writing and typing and writing. Then they gave me my math homework, and they just gave me everything. So I'm just sitting there doing it because I'm like, I'm not going to be here. And then I had to also miss out on the quiz. I said,
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it on the go, and it kind of shows your character, right? If you really want it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I respect you for that.
Thank you. If you're just now tuning in, I have professional race car driver Westin Workman. But racing isn't just about being fast. It's also physical and mental. How do you train to stay in top shape for those long races?
Yeah, so I'm from Charlotte, but I live in Mooresville now. Mooresville is about 30 minutes north of Charlotte, and Toyota has a facility here in Mooresville, North Carolina, called Toyota Performance Center, nicknamed TPC or GR Garage. So at this facility is where they build all of the GR Cup race cars. And then above that, we have a kitchen, a gym, a basketball court,
wow.
a nutritionist, a mental health coach, 3 trainers.
It's like a big
What
old
else do we
home.
have? Hot tub, cold tub. The list goes on. So there's many resources that Toyota offers us race car drivers. So I'm training 5 days a week. I take the weekends off for rest days, but I'm training all week, and it depends on my school schedule, right? So I go to school 2 days a week. I have 2 classes. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll train at 7 a.m. before school, and then come back home, shower quickly, and then go to school. But on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it's a little bit more open. So I'll train a little bit later in the morning, be able to get some good sleep. But going back to what you touched on with, being fit in the car and racing, not only just steering the wheel and pressing the pedals, but it's also very physical. The car gets very hot. You're having to counteract the G forces in the car. You're having to steer the car for hours at a time. So it gets very tiring. So the cockpit of the car gets to about 120, 130 degrees. And you have to be able to be physically fit to endure that, but also have the mental strength, the mental capacity to be able to still be smart and think through the cabin of the car being that hot. So we also do heat room training. So we have a heat room at the facility where we train at 110, 120 degrees to be able to simulate the temperatures in the car.
That is hot.
And then we also have, we also have a screen called a Synaptech, and that also helps us with reaction time and mental strength to be able to still focus while we're in the car.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different things and resources that we have to be able to use at the facility to maximize our performance in the car. And that's, like I touched on before, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't really see. You might see the car going around the track, but there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes to be able to perform well.
Hey, let me guess. At the facility too, can people live there? Because I hear you say they got a kitchen, basketball court, etc. So you think people could live there?
I think people could live there. If I could, I would honestly live there. Unfortunately, I can't. But yeah, that would be the dream house to live in for sure.
And when it comes to the mental side, how do you stay focused in high-pressure moments like the final lap of a race or even juggling a tough exam and a race weekend?
Ooh, I like that question. So, it really comes down to experience, right? I think, once you start winning races and winning more, it becomes more of a secondhand nature for yourself, right? Like when I won my first couple races, right? Like when I got to the lead of the race or was leading on the last lap, I had no idea what to do. I was so excited, like I'm gonna win. But sometimes you get too nervous and bad things happen. But once you start to experience that and get more used to it,
and then
you become more calm in those types of situations. And that also goes back to our training, right? I'm not tired during the races because of the rigorous training that we do. I'm not nervous in the lead of a race because I lead a lot. I'm not nervous to win a race because I win occasionally. So it's things like that, and it all comes back to experience to be able to perform well on the last lap of a race and stay calm and have all the things that you've been working on behind the scenes go well.
Makes sense. But you're only 20 and you're already competing against guys with way more experience. Does being young in this sport work to your advantage, or do you feel like you still have something to prove?
I think being young in this sport definitely works to my advantage, but I always still do feel like I have something to prove. I think there's a lot of pressure on me this year to have many wins, to be able to stay in the Toyota program, because that's what they're looking for, right? They want drivers who win. And, I have to win to be able to receive funding to keep racing. So it all comes back to having a balance of, being young and using that to your advantage, but also, having that pressure to push you to be able to perform well and podium and win and do all the great things that racing has to offer. What? I feel like that was a two-handed question. What was the second part of your question?
I don't think there was a second part. There wasn't a second part, but
okay.
I have something to prove because sometimes adults think I'm not DJing for real, even though young people can be better skilled than some adults. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm just saying they come up and be like, "Is she really DJing?" And I have them come up behind the DJ booth, and then I show them. And, that just makes me feel kind of upset that some adults think that us kids can't do stuff like that. So, yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes it feels good to prove to them, like, I'm really DJing,
yes,
right? Like,
I'm really DJ. It's frustrating that you think I'm not
like,
doing
look,
this.
I'm
I want you to
right
look
now.
at my hands. I want you to look at my hands, and I want you to see everything that's happening right now.
Yeah. That's the same thing with me, right? Like, can that kid really drive? Like, yeah, I can drive.
Yes, I can drive. Of course I can drive. I wouldn't be here if I couldn't drive. But man, Weston's story is crazy, inspiring. But we're going to take a quick music break. But when we come back, we'll put Westin Workman in the hot seat for some rapid fire questions. Don't go anywhere. Weston, what are some of your favorite songs or artists? I want to add them to my mix.
Ooh, I like that. So, for nostalgia, when I was growing up, my parents were always listening to, 90s and 80s music. And then kind of like elementary school, middle school, like I was always on the new era. And then like just recently, I've been on my early 2000s, 90s, and 80s kind of rap and R&B, right? So I like a lot of Biggie. I like a lot of Mace, Tupac, 112.
My dad would love you for Tupac. He loves Tupac.
Yeah. And I like a lot of the R&B stuff too. 112, Jodeci, Bobby Brown. There's a lot of people on my list. And I really
everybody that you're naming is all those people I already have on my list.
I like that. So you playing the good stuff. Huh?
Oh yeah. You won't believe on how many adults request those artists.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. That's the good music.
But
it's funny that I listen to that stuff because I wasn't even born when it came out.
Me neither. I love that, but I was born in 2014. But I'm listening to stuff way before my time.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just now tuning in, I have 2024 Mazda MX-5 Cup Rookie of the Year, professional race car driver, Westin Workman. Well, all right, Westin, this is the rapid fire round. I'm going to throw out questions, and you answer with the first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
Ready? Let's go. Favorite racetrack?
Laguna Seca.
Pre-race hype song?
Ooh, Only You by 112.
Woo! Most memorable college class so far?
Ooh, geography.
Dream racing competitor you would love to go up against?
Lewis Hamilton.
Go-to food after a long race?
Pasta.
What's harder, racing in the rain or racing at night?
Racing in the rain.
Probably. If you weren't a driver, what would you be doing?
Buying
Rapid
and selling
fire.
cars.
Say it one more time.
Buying and selling cars.
Describe racing in one word.
Difficult.
All right. You won. Even though I didn't know any of those answers. Except for pasta.
Pasta, that's my favorite food. Pasta for sure.
What kind of
With
pasta?
some Alfredo sauce, with some chicken or shrimp or any
We
type of protein.
We have to go out for dinner one day.
No, we do.
You know,
Let's
they
do
got
it.
some good spots here. Little Italy, they got some good pasta spots.
Yeah, I bet
All
they do.
right. Huh? But, Westin, what advice would you give kids that want to be successful in life or in anything?
Ooh, I mean, I've been so fortunate to find what I want to do in life so early. Me and you both.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my best advice would be just don't stress out about your future. Just find something that you like and try to integrate that into your life and try to integrate that into what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's always hard to find a passion or figure out what you want to do in life, but it all comes down to passion and working like it doesn't feel like a job. Like racing for me doesn't feel like a job. I'm sure DJing and doing these shows doesn't feel like a job for you. You love to do it. You have a very bright personality.
Thank you.
It all comes back to finding your passion and doing what you love to do. And it sounds cliche, but there's a lot of moments in my racing career where I wanted to stop or I don't know, take a break, but I always just kept going. I use my losses as motivation. That would definitely be my advice. Use your losses as motivation. Never take it on the chin too hard. I didn't touch on this, but when I started racing, I was terrible. I sucked.
Everybody has a first start. You're not automatically good at something when you first start. So
right, and with racing, right, I feel like there's a lot of stories where a lot of these professional race car drivers won their first race and that's how they found out they had talent. But it was the opposite for me. I was getting lapped my first race. I was finishing last. I didn't have any wins or podiums my first 2 years of professional go-karting. So it was always just I had so much passion for it and wanted to get better at it that I've always used those different opportunities to learn and get better, and now I'm in the position I am, and I couldn't be more fortunate and lucky and happy to be where I'm at.
Yes. Well, Westin, that was amazing advice, but I know you got a packed schedule. But are there any causes or charities you support that you love to shout out?
I was involved in the Jack and Jill Club of America for a countless amount of years, and we always did a lot of charity work and things like that. So I definitely want to shout out the Jack and Jill Club of America. I'll always be part of that family.
All right. Well, speaking of giving back, I want to remind everyone that DJ Lily Jade's 4th annual sock drive is happening now. I'm collecting socks for all sizes, adults and kid sizes for those in need, and to the unhoused community. Drop-off location is right here at the WOVU station, 7201 Kinsman Road, Cleveland, Ohio, 44104. If you want to help, check out my website. We need socks. Having warm feet keeps you healthy. Well,
I'll definitely make sure to send you some socks.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, Westin, this has been an incredible conversation. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners follow your journey this season?
They can follow me on all social media platforms. So it's Westin Workman 13 on Instagram, Westin Workman Racing on Facebook, Westin Workman on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And then throughout the MX-5 Cup and GR Cup seasons, they can also watch the races live on YouTube. So MX-5 Cup is streamed on IMSA, and GR Cup is streamed on, I think it's Sports the sports car channel on YouTube, so they can watch all the races live on YouTube and follow all my recaps on social media.
Perfect. And I'll be in Greensboro, NC for the ACC Women's Basketball Tournament the first weekend of March. Maybe we can connect in person.
For sure, let's do it.
Oh, yeah. And thank you to 2024 Mazda MX-5 Cup Rookie of the Year professional race driver Westin Workman for being on my show today. And to all my listeners, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at The Lily Jade Show and check out my website for upcoming events, thelilyjadeshow.com, and shows near you. I'll be back next week with more great conversations and, of course, more music. Until then, stay positive, stay inspired, and keep rocking with The Lily Jade Show. This is your girl signing out. Peace!